Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Jam. My name is Jess Majewski. I'm joined by Egan Walsh and Matthew Rogers. And today we are talking about the most legendary metal band of all time, Metallica. And I don't think they need an introduction, so let's just get right into it. Matthew, what are your thoughts on Ride the Lightning?
Ride the Lightning, I thought it was pretty good. I'm not the biggest metal fan. I'm just going to start off with that because I might have some pretty upsetting opinions in this episode. But, I thought Ride the Lightning was really good. I had, some songs like Escape. Escape was really good. I love that song. Ride the Lightning, just the title track was really good. I don't know. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. Egan, you got anything?
I really like this album. My favorite aspects are that it's got high energy throughout it. It's just got that vibe, It's great for working out. It's like something that's,
for sure.
It gets the adrenaline flowing. Something else that I really liked about it is the guitar tone. It's specifically the lead guitar tone. I feel like that just kind of feels like lightning almost. Escape is another song that I really like. Some of my other favorites were For Whom the Bell Tolls and Fade to Black.
Fade to Black.
Fade to
what
Black.
I forgot about. I don't know how I forgot about that
Fade
one.
to Black's an amazing
So
song, yeah. I concur with you guys. Amazing guitar tones, amazing bass tones too. Cliff Burton was just an absolute master on that album. Honestly, you guys put it best. There's no way I could put it better. It's a great album. It's great for working out. It gets your adrenaline pumping. I think my favorite songs are Fade to Black, Creeping Death, and Ride the Lightning. Yeah.
Nice.
I think it's funny that you guys both really like Escape because Escape is I believe it's James Hetfield, the lead guitarist's least favorite song.
Really?
Yeah. I think he said in an interview that that song wasn't even supposed to be on the album. It was something that their production or their record label had them do so that they could stretch the length of the album to a full LP instead of an EP because it would have been short enough to be an EP if they didn't include the song. So, I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny, to be honest.
Yeah, I've heard stories of other bands that are kind of like that they have some really big song and they end up just really not liking. That's kind of like Radiohead and Creep. That's the
comes to
mind with me.
For sure.
I really like that song mostly because it's kind of a change from everything else that's on the album. Specifically the chorus, it really stands out amongst all the other tracks. It's a little bit less metal, and I think it's kind of something that it's a little bit easier to listen to, which is maybe why I latched onto it so much. But I can definitely understand why, as a musician, they don't like that song as much as the other songs on the album, or why they didn't intend for that to be on the album in the first place. But because it's kind of some variation, I think it kind of helps it stand out in the track list.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I like the song a lot too, but I like you, I understand from a musician's perspective why they wouldn't like it all that much. So I guess enough about the upsides. Let's get to the downsides. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, I'll start with that because
right.
My downsides to the album. This actually tends to be a reoccurring theme in a lot of the Metallica albums. They tend to just be way too long with some songs.
Really?
They just kind of go on and on and on, and it seems to just be the same repeating melody just over and over and over again. But it's just I get the vibe of it. I kind of like it if I'm in a mood I just want to rock out and go crazy or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
But if I'm just just sitting there listening to music or something, just having my headphones in, just jamming or whatever, that'd be a great vibe. But if I'm paying attention to music, it was kind of hard to get through sometimes. But I get the appeal for it though, so.
It's fair.
Yeah, I think I would kind of agree and kind of disagree. I think that there are instances in which, there's repetition and the songs are a little bit too long and, maybe the songs could benefit from being a little bit shorter. But for the most part, I feel the parts that are repeating are good enough to be able to, you can listen to them multiple times. But I think just stylistically, it's not the type of music where you kind of sit back, like you said, just listening to music and get lost in what you're hearing. And I feel like those sorts of songs really lend themselves to being a lot longer. Kind of like the songs that we talked about in the Pink Floyd episode. Things that you can just sit back and listen to, get lost in for a long time. That's not really what I think of when I'm thinking about Metallica. So I feel like when they have things that are changing up, I feel like that's what's most engaging to me, just because I feel like stylistically, that's just what I prefer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I can understand why you'd say that, Matthew. Why some songs do seem to, and I agree to some extent. I think there are a few instances where some songs do just a little bit too long. Either maybe the outro's a little too long, or verse repeats when it doesn't need to, or like you have the same repeating riff on another verse. Like I don't know. As great as "Ride the Lightning" is, the title track, I don't know. I feel like the extra verse after the solo was just a little. I don't know. It felt like it dragged the song on just a little too much. Like, I don't know. I think that's the only really song that I have a problem with the length of it. But I don't know. Like Egan said, I think the rest of them do a good enough job to warrant their length. For me, my dislikes about the album, my most major one would be just like the track order, because like I feel like it's such like a change in energy really quickly between songs. And obviously it's not meant to be like a concept album where it goes like each song goes through a linear story. But like I think the switch ups from like Creeping Death to Fade to Black or something, like that's just like those are both amazing songs, but putting them right next to each other is just like it's whiplash.
Yeah, it just feels like all over the place, kind of messy.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like they just threw the tracks into the album, because it starts off really good with Fight Fire with Fire, and then I think it goes into For Whom the Bell Tolls. Like that's a really good opener, but then it just completely gets shut down by Fade to Black, and it's just a total change in pace.
Yeah.
I think that's really my only big complaint about that.
Yeah, but not to say that Fade to Black's like a bad song.
Oh no,
like
definitely
on its own, that's probably my favorite song.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just put next to the song that it's put next to, it's a really big change in pace that comes out of nowhere, really. So.
Yeah, I would say that I agree both with your opinions on the order in which the songs are put together in the album, and what you were saying about Ride the Lightning. It definitely doesn't need a verse after the solo. I also kind of felt like there was the issue of repetition on Fight Fire with Fire, though I still think it's a great way to open the album. And definitely, I felt like I didn't enjoy Creeping Death the first time I listened to it coming out of Fade to Black, just because I felt like it was kind of like, drinking orange juice after brushing your teeth. It's just like not the right thing at the right time.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But coming back to the album and listening to the song on its own, I was like, oh, this song is actually like fantastic. And I just, wasn't, I guess the way in which they put the songs doesn't really lend itself to emphasizing how good that song is.
Yeah, no, that was the perfect way to put it. Drinking or brushing your teeth after drinking orange juice. That's amazing. Yeah. And like I agree. The first time I listened to that album, it was just such like a visceral reaction from going to those two songs. So yeah, that's a totally valid criticism that I get, and I think that's one of the biggest, or one of the only downfalls about that album.
I think another like really strong point, on the other hand, of this album is the guitar solos. Like specifically Fade to Black, the guitar solo in that. Every single time I listen to it, I'm like, this song is absolutely fantastic. The same thing with Ride the Lightning. It just kind of, every single time I hear like the lead guitar is coming to the front of the stage, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for something big to happen, and it always delivers. I feel like that's something that I was completely satisfied with on this album.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Like, despite like some of my criticism of the album, like it did deliver when it had to, and it just like it would, like exactly like how you said, it would just like build up, like you kind of like climbing a mountain, and it just like got to that peak, and it was great when it got there.
Absolutely, yeah. The album's amazing on building energy in the songs themselves. Obviously not like throughout the album, but like the songs themselves just like are so amazing with energy. Final ratings for the albums, you guys?
Okay. I mean, again, this isn't like my favorite genre of music, so I'm just gonna give my own objective, rating of it.
That's fun.
I think that it would be like a 7 out of 10.
Okay. Egan?
I think that this album is like, I like the songs on it, but as one whole unit, it doesn't really, fit together all in one. I think it's probably like a high, like 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, for this album, it would have been a 10 out of 10 for me without the issues that we talked about here. So for me, it is at least like a low to mid 9 for me. So, yeah. That was Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Up next, we have Master of Puppets, the most legendary metal album on the planet, so stay tuned. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Jam. Today, this segment, we are talking about Master of Puppets by Metallica, the most legendary metal album of all time. Again, something that needs absolutely no introduction, so I'm going to throw it to Egan. What are your thoughts on this album?
This album's great. This album's like fantastic. I always kind of knew Metallica as, you know, that one metal band that like everyone talked about, and like I had heard like friends and family talk about the band. I was like, I've never listened to them. And I was watching some like guitar solo compilation or something, and I saw Master of Puppets. I'm like, that was like pretty good. So I was like, maybe I'll listen to Metallica. And I listened to Master of Puppets, and I was like, hey, that was really good.
Wow.
And that's kind of where my thoughts are. Hey, that was really good. I really like the album. It's great.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
No, I totally agree. The other two Metallica albums that we listened to, I mean, they were okay, but this album was really good. Like, I loved this album. This album was totally, like, it had totally replayable songs, it was actually just, like, amazing energy the whole time, and I was actually just like, yeah, let's go. Wait, this is actually good metal, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. That's honestly, like, I know I say it a lot, but I couldn't put it any better, excuse me. Like, what you were talking about, like, hey, this is really good. It's like, I feel like no matter what kind of music you listen to, I feel like everyone can appreciate this album on that kind of level. Like, I think everyone that talks about this kind of music just universally recognizes that this Master of Puppets is the pinnacle when it comes to metal. And like, it's amazing. Like, there's no better way to put it. It has the most amazing energy front to back. It has, like you, Matthew, I believe you said, the most replayable songs. I don't know if that's...
That's what I was going,
Yeah, the most replayable songs. It has just amazing energy listening to the album as well as just listening to the songs by themselves, which is kind of where other albums struggle, is keeping energy throughout the whole album. But Master of Puppets just seems to keep your attention the entire time. It's absolutely amazing.
No, you go.
Yeah. So, what are you guys' favorite songs?
Do you want to go?
No, you can go first.
Okay.
You go.
All right.
All right. My top three would be Welcome Home, Sanitarium. That's just a great one.
Absolutely.
It's a good like change of pace kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Master of Puppets, definitely. And then Orion. I love
Ooh.
Orion.
Okay. That's a good pick. You want to go?
Yeah, I almost had like exactly the same. I said Welcome Home as number one. Number two, Master of Puppets, but I said three was Battery. I think it's because I listened to, I tried to listen to this album once and then I got like distracted and I like got through like Battery, Master of Puppets, and a couple other songs. But I like really, like that was like the first time and I listened again and I was like, oh, this is really good. So maybe I just need to listen to the other songs more, but I mean, it had great energy the whole way through. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing list, and I believe that's most people's list just because of how iconic all four of those songs are. And that's, Matthew, your list is identical to mine except for Battery. I swap between it. I swap between them as my top three, either Battery or Disposable Heroes for me. But my top three are Master of Puppets, Sanitarium, Battery, or Disposable. I can't decide between the two. They both have just amazing aspects in their own right. I think we should talk about the elephant in the room, which is the title track itself, Master of Puppets. Arguably one of the most iconic hard rock, metal, whatever you want to call it,
just
songs
of all time.
just ever. It's what, 8 minutes and 30 seconds of just unparalleled energy and amazing riffs and one of the best solos ever written.
Yeah, you talk about it because you're the guitar player.
Yeah. So this song, I listened to it for the first time, like, oh, this song's like super long, but it doesn't really feel long, even though, it's kind of just repetition of the same riffs. The riffs are just so good to the point where you can listen to it for 8 minutes and still be engaged. And then the solo section is just a whole nother beast, because you have, everything dies down from the high energy, and then it's like a slow build, and then it goes back into the high energy riffs, and it's just fantastic.
For sure, yeah. That interlude between just the regular verses and then when it slows down and then goes into the solo. I actually know how to play that part on guitar because I loved it so much, and I want to one day learn that solo. But that, like you said, that solo is a whole nother beast. It's one of the best I've ever heard, one of the best ever written, and it's just such an amazing section of the song.
I mean, yeah, it's considered one of the best solos of all time for a reason.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Definitely for a reason.
Another solo that I really liked is the solo on Disposable Heroes. That my first time listening through, I was like, oh, the song's, it's pretty good. And I didn't really like it all that much. And then I heard the solo. I'm like, oh, this is great. So it made me want to go back and listen to the song. And then listening to the song again, I was like, oh, the song itself is great. Another song that, upon further listens, I really liked is Battery. I love Battery because that's just like, full throttle the entire time. It starts off, with the acoustic guitars, and then it just kind of like crushes everything that got built up, and it's just like a wall of sound almost. It's great.
Yeah, that acoustic intro on that song is iconic, and then just how it just smashes right into the leads. It's so good. What do you think about the song?
I totally agree. Like the intro, like the acoustic guitar, and it just like, coming in, like it's like it like crushes it, but like in a good way. Like it's like perfect for the song, so you kind of like get caught off guard, but it's that good, feeling of getting caught off guard, like just like thrown into battle almost.
Absolutely. So as much as I love singing praise about this album, I want to know if you guys have any cons you feel about this album or any downfalls that you feel like affect your listening in one way or another.
Not to sound repetitive with the song length again. Just like,
that's fair.
I mean, like the albums tend to be like around an hour, but like they only have like 7 or 8 songs, like most Metallica, or like at least Metallica albums I've listened to. And it's like, you look at the track list and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because most of these songs are around like 7-8 minutes. And I just like, literally, I mean, I don't listen to metal music that much, probably because my ears will like genuinely start to hurt. Like, I mean, not because it's bad, I have no disrespect in that way, but like, it's just like it's just too much for my ears sometimes, and I'm just like, oh god, I gotta take this off.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to get comfortable with after listening to for so often.
Yeah.
What about you, Egan?
I don't have that issue with this album. I feel like the song length is something that I'm like okay with, because I think that there's a little bit more of like a dynamic in the sound, to the point where there's highs and lows within it, and the songs certainly are long, and I think that it wouldn't hurt that much to cut off like a minute or two from many of the songs. But generally I think a lot of times the long songs do work, because like Battery, it starts with the acoustic and then it changes into something different, and I feel like there's a lot of change within each of the songs that makes me not really complain about that so much.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that. I think that this was the best album out of like the other two, that like actually was like good at like making me like really engaged the whole time, because I think this is the only album where I listened to it the whole way through and I actually had no problem with like it being too harsh or anything like that. Like it was actually just entertaining the whole time, and I actually like am really happy that I'm going to go back to it and listen to it again.
To be honest, I know that not every album is perfect. However, I think that there really is nothing major wrong with the album. I think that really nothing about this album really affects my listening to it. Like, I think the only issues with it are so minor that you wouldn't notice them if it had if it was like a lower quality album. Like, you wouldn't notice those issues because there are bigger ones at hand. But I don't think there's any major issues with the album. I think the tones are absolutely amazing. Every member was in their prime when they made the album. Hetfield's vocals sound great. The solos are amazing. Lars is wonderful, which is kind of weird sometimes, but it's the perfect album to me. It really is. So,
Yeah, I think I almost agree. Almost. The only thing for me that kind of, makes this album not, like, perfect is I just feel like The Thing That Should Not Be and Leper Messiah are just, like, a little bit, they're just slightly worse than all the other songs on the album. I feel like, those 6, I'm just like, yes, 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 I like this, I like this, I like this. And then with Leper Messiah and The Thing That Should Not Be, I'm like, this is still pretty good, but it's not my favorite. It's not something I would listen to over and over again.
They're definitely, yeah, I think those are the 2 least like listened to songs on the album according to like streaming data and whatever. And I kind of agree. I think I can recite the lyrics on pretty much every song except those 2. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Final ratings, you guys?
I give it like a high 8 out of 10.
I would give it a 9 out of 10.
I'd give it a 10 out of 10. It's the perfect album for me. But that was Master of Puppets by Metallica. Up next we have And Justice for All. Stay tuned for that. This segment we are going to be talking about And Justice for All, the album that was released directly after Master of Puppets. It is one of the harshest sounding Metallica albums, if not the harshest, and definitely has some of the darkest themes. So I think we should just get right into it. Which one of you wants to go first?
Matt, you can start.
Well, this is the one out of the 3 that I would legitimately probably say I don't like it that much. I mean, it was it was good. There were some good songs on there, and like One and Blackened. I like those 2 songs, and I thought those are great. But the rest, I really can't name a lot of other ones because they were a bit forgettable. But I get why people like it. But there was also kind of a lack. I think there was no bassist on the album, right? There was no bass at all.
Yes, that is the most talked about thing about that album is just the lack of bass. It's almost a meme within the community of how how little. Yeah, it is definitely a glaring issue with the album for sure. Egan?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I didn't like this one as much. I thought it was all right. I definitely understand the appeal, but it was, as you've been saying, you said that, on the other 2 albums you didn't like that that the songs were so long, and I really feel that on this album.
Yeah.
In my opinion, And Justice for All, the song, does not need to be 9 minutes long. It's just it's like you said, it's very harsh. It's very rough and abrasive, and the drums especially, those are really good. And if you're in the mood to listen to something rough and abrasive, this certainly delivers, but it's kind of just rough and abrasive for a really long time, and I feel like it doesn't need to be that long.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, I do get what you guys are saying. I do understand the complaint about the title track being 9 minutes long. Honestly, me personally, I love that song, but I can totally understand why other people don't and why other people do have a problem with the song lengths, because it is the tracks are definitely very long, and some of them do go on for longer than they need to, for sure. But I don't have as many complaints about it as you guys, but I totally get the complaints that you guys do. I don't have anything that I would disagree about your complaints. I think they're all valid. I think my biggest complaints, the bass, obviously that's the elephant in the room. After Cliff Burton's passing, they really didn't handle replacing a member very well, and they had Jason Newsted, who was an absolutely amazing bassist, come in, and they kind of neutered his sound really hard. You can hear it in some of the concerts, how the songs are supposed to sound, and they sound amazing. But it's just during the album itself, it's it's missing that kick of bass. You don't notice it until it's gone sometimes, and when it's gone, it's very obvious, especially in metal.
Yeah.
It's like bass is like the foundation of all music, especially metal.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like, exactly what you say. You don't notice it until it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, there's something wrong with this album. And then I was like trying to listen. I was like, oh, wait, there's no bass here.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? And because, it's just like the bass is like that really good underlying tone that's just like, it comes in, it's like boom, boom. And every once, whatever it needs to, obviously. But like, it's just like it really gets you more into the music. Like the bass is like just I think a necessary instrument in any type of music.
Oh,
and
for sure.
Just here, there's none I can remember.
Yeah,
so.
it's like even if you really turn up the volume on it and you crank your EQ settings, it's still just very hard to pick out the bass. Like to the normal ear that's just listening to the song on normal volume or even max volume, you can't hear it.
Yeah.
Like you just can't pick it out on almost every song.
Yeah, my first time listening to this album, I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. This is the one with no bass, isn't it? And I'm just like, it's just lacking the extra oomph that it really needs
For
to,
sure.
in my opinion, to feel heavy at all. But it does kind of help it feel a little bit more rough and abrasive because it doesn't feel like it's, connected to like a holistic sound as much almost. It almost
get what
feels
you're
like it's
saying,
just
yeah.
like,
They're just like jamming out or something.
almost like a car skidding off the tracks and just kind of, like the guitar's like sitting on top of everything, just like, I don't know. It's a
I get
good
what
thing
you're
in
saying,
some
yeah.
circumstances, but in others, I'm kind of just like, I want like a full sound with the bass. I was listening and I was like, I hear the bass, and it was for like 4 seconds, and then I couldn't hear it again. I'm like, it's gone now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just such a punch that's missing from the album, and it's really needed, especially how just lowly tuned most of the album is. Like, it's just a very heavy album in terms of like sonically. Like it was mentioned earlier, the drums are very aggressive and very abrasive, and it just needs some foundation for that.
It's just loud. Like it's just loud.
That's
it.
yeah. But enough about the cons of the album. What do you guys think about the pros? What are your favorite parts about the album? Because I think we rambled on about the negatives just a tad too long.
Yeah, I love the guitar riffage in this album. Like, all of the guitar riffs, it's just like, oh, that's like, I totally understand why they selected to use that and put it in a song on an album. But it's just, sometimes when you hear it for too long, it kind of takes away from that. But it doesn't make the part any less interesting when you're hearing it for the first time. And also the drums are fantastic. I love the drums on this album. And then when the drums and the guitar are connected, I feel like they work really, really well together. And I feel like it's just like, oh man, this part you can really get into the groove. And then also when they change things up, like on The Eye of the Beholder, they changed the groove just like completely, and every single time I hear that, I'm like, that was like, I'm into this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree totally. The drums are definitely my favorite part about the album too. The drums and the riffage are just, I think that Injustice for All has the best riffs. Unfortunately, I think it's kind of neutered by just how long the songs are and how long they repeat for. Like, I think some of the songs were like 4 or 5 minutes. You'd be like, those riffs are amazing. I'm going to keep re-listening to this song because then it would have more replay value. But the drums and the guitar, I think the guitar tones too, like on One, for example, like both the clean and the heavy tone are just so amazing. And I think on Blackened too, it's just like, I think those two songs really just highlight the amazing qualities about the album. But yeah. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, like my high points of the album, I think I would agree with you too. Like the guitar and the drums like worked perfectly together. I think they like created that nice like harsh, just metal sound, I guess. Like I was really listening to this and it was like it was just like the definition of like what I thought, like what I would imagine metal music to be, and it just like. I mean, there were like, honestly, after the first song, I was like, oh, I bet this is actually going to be my favorite Metallica album of the 3. And then I just kind of like went down over time.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I mean, like the first song, like it really just captivated me. And I mean, it was just, I was like really jamming out to it the whole time. And I was like, oh, this is actually really good. But and then it just seemed like that type of style was like just too repetitive throughout the album.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning probably the most iconic, besides Master of Puppets, the most iconic song of all time, One. It's just
Metal song, right?
yeah,
Okay.
metal song, sorry. One of the most iconic metal songs of all time alongside Master of Puppets. It's such an amazing build up, just the concept of it's a dark song too. It's talking about a soldier who lost all of his limbs to a landmine and talking about that's the theme of the song is a soldier who lost all of his limbs and being hit by a landmine and like can't see, can't think, can't speak kind of thing. And it's just like such a dark concept, but it's done so well. I want to know what you guys think about the song.
Yeah, I agree. I love that song.
scary.
It's
Yeah, for sure.
it's certainly one of the most iconic metal songs, and it's definitely something that I associate with Metallica. You know, I had never listened to the song from start to finish, but then throughout the song, I was like, oh, I know this part of the song. I know this part of the song. And I love the solo. It's one.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
maybe the most iconic Metallica solo.
For sure, yeah.
It's just, I think that song is great, and I think they really dealt with such like a heavy and dark topic really well. At least like nowadays, I feel like a lot of times people will try and like tackle these like heavy subjects, and it'll kind of just like do it in a cringy way, and it doesn't really work so well. But this is the complete opposite. I'm like, this really makes me like, it kind of makes me sit and think about it. It's like, this is actually really dark, and you know, it's very thought provoking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't know that was what the song was about until right now. But I mean, obviously, it's got to have some like really great storytelling aspects, and I just thought the song was really good, just based off of the sound of the song. Like that was all I was really looking for. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to listen to that again now that you say that, and it sounds like it would actually make it like a more immersive and more entertaining song by that.
Yeah, that solo is just absolutely iconic. I'd argue it's their most popular solo. It's like, that song is just, everyone and their mother is like, hey, I recognize that song, or I've heard that one before. So, final ratings, you guys?
I'd probably give it like a high 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
I would.
My bad.
I would give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I think that like there's a lot of good stuff, but I mean there's just like some like weird arrangement choices. Like what's up with the chanting on the frayed ends of insanity?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That was a little
why.
silly.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
why
agree.
they did that.
I agree.
But overall, it's a pretty solid album.
Yeah, I'd give it. I swap back between it because I love the album, but I do recognize there's a lot of flaws with it. So personally, I'd give it like a low to mid 8 at the most. I love it. It's my least favorite of the 3, but I still love the album. I have a lot of personal memories attached to it. And it's just such an amazing album, but it does fall short on a lot of areas for sure. So that was Metallica's arguably the most iconic albums they've ever produced. I thank Egan Walsh and Matthew Rogers for joining me today, and I hope you watch again. Thank you.